Hey everybody, how's it going? Hope you're having a lovely day. Welcome to today's episode of How You're Getting Fucked. I'm your host, Louis Rossman, and today I'm going to be following up in a video series that I did last year on a company called Bambu Labs. Bambu Labs makes 3D printers that make it much easier for you to be able to 3D print things, even if you're not highly experienced in 3D printing. And I like that. I am not an elitist. I think that if there is somebody who comes out with a product that makes it easier to enter a hobby, all the better. I think that that's great that it gets more people involved in the excitement of 3D printing. Unfortunately, like many companies that try to make things easier for you in this way, they also try to exercise this type of dictatorial control after the sale of what you already purchased. And what we covered on this channel last year is that they added some authorization systems and they made it more difficult to be able to use the device without going through these authorization systems first, even if you wanted to use them locally. Now, if I have a 3D printer, I want to be, just my way of thinking, I want to be able to print what I want without having my printer connect to the internet and talk to the manufacturer who gets to approve what it is I do with my device. I bought it, I own it, it's mine. Enough of that shit. Now, there's a piece of software called OrcaSlicer that makes things a lot easier for more advanced users that want to be able to do things with their tool that they bought and paid for. And the person who made that tool just got a cease and desist notice, or he's about to get a cease and desist notice. I can't tell for sure because I can't read it since he didn't publish it. He didn't publish it because the company asked him not to. So what I'm going to be doing with this video is twofold. Number one, I'm going to be encouraging the gentleman that got the cease and desist or whatever it was to publish it. Number two, I'm going to ask him to fight it. And number three, I'm going to offer some help. So let's get into it. What did he get and what did they say? What I find very funny about this is that everything that they're complaining about is what he did with AGPL licensed software, which is just absolutely just a joke. What happened? Bambu Labs contacted me and directly demanded removal of the solution. In that correspondence, they alleged, among other things, that the removed implementation impersonated Bambu Studio, bypassed their authorization controls, violated their terms of use, involved reverse engineering, and could allow modified forks to send arbitrary commands to printers. Now, if I want to bypass the authorization controls in something that I bought and paid for, I should be allowed to do that. If I want something to impersonate something, even if, I'm not even saying that's what he did, but if I want a piece of software or hardware in my setup to impersonate the manufacturer, after the manufacturer has changed it after the sale so that I have to connect to their bullshit app, yeah, I don't see a problem with that. Reverse engineering, above all, is not something that any of us should be seeing problems with. Reverse engineering is how we get access to systems and be able to get control of systems that we bought and paid for after it's been taken away from us. And reverse engineering is what allows us as a society to become smarter. Like a lot of the people like Steve Wozniak started out reverse engineering random shit in their garage. All these great American companies that end up at the top of the S&P 500, they got there because some dude in his garage was fucking around with something and reverse engineering it. And I think that we should encourage that rather than look down on it as something that is bad. But let's go over why he doesn't acknowledge any of these allegations as facts. He asked Bambu Labs to identify precisely and concretely the exact repository files, commits, or code paths they considered problematic, the exact legal or contractual basis they were relying on, and the exact terms and end-user license agreement basis if their objection was primarily about service access rather than copyright. I also made clear that the repository did not contain or redistribute their proprietary network plugin binaries. One of the interesting things here is the remove repository did not redistribute Bambu Labs' proprietary networking plugin binaries. Bambu Studio is publicly released under the AGPL 3.0 license, and Bambu Labs' own public repository describes the networking plugin as an optional component based on non-free libraries. So AGPL software is software where I can take the source code, I can modify the source code, I can re-release the source code, I can do just about whatever the fuck I want with it. It's not like I'm redistributing something that I'm not allowed to redistribute. The very concept of AGPL licensed software is that if I want to be able to redistribute that shit as I please, I'm allowed to. That's the entire point of the fucking license, and they had the balls to send this notice anyway. Why I disputed their characterization, says the developer. One of the more serious allegations made to me was the suggestion that this implementation could allow unauthorized commands to be sent to the printer. I explicitly pointed out that, according to Bambu Labs' own explanation, the reason the method still worked was simply that they had not disabled that path yet. In other words, the behavior they objected to was, by their own description, still possible within the Linux side workflow they had not yet changed. For that reason, I did not accept the attempt to frame this as though I had created some entirely separate hidden capability or some novel printer side command path. I also did not accept the repeated suggestion this could be described as reverse engineering in the way it was presented to me, especially since I had already explained that the work was based on public Bambu Studio source code and that I had not used or redistributed their proprietary plugin binaries. I asked him to explain to me why they continued to frame it that way after this had been pointed out. I did not receive a substantive answer to that question. And the reason that he did not receive a substantive answer to that question is because that's not the point. It's the same as them saying, don't publish what we sent you. The reason that they don't want you to publish what they sent you, OrcaSlicer developer, is because they know that they don't have a leg to stand on. And they know that if people like me and actual lawyers who are much smarter than me were able to look through this, they would laugh at their case and nobody would care. You would not get in any trouble at all. The reason that they don't want you to show their work is because their work sucks. The reason they're not answering any of your questions is because they're not interested in making a case. They're interested in scaring you, and they don't have one. Now, this is something I've dealt with many times before, and I'm going to just, before I read the last paragraph, I just want to go over this. There's probably many more links in this channel that people can find to legal cases or cases similar to this where I have tried to help people, whether we're talking about Stephen Fisher with DCS, where not only did he get most of his case fundraised by the audience, but he also managed to actually get back the money from DCS that he was owed after DCS had sued him and failed. Or we're talking about Cami Research, a company that sent a cease and desist to my good friend Stephen Ryan, and to me, requesting $10,000 per day from me and something similar from Stephen Ryan. They have gotten nothing from Stephen Ryan or me, and the lawyer that hired them literally fired their fucking client the next day after I went through their case, and I didn't even have to hire a lawyer. This is what I do. One of my foundations right now, one of my nonprofits that I started after starting another nonprofit that did lobbying around the country to try and get laws passed in favor of right to repair and consumer rights, is primarily focused on digital locks and why breaking digital locks to be able to access what you bought and paid for should not be illegal. This is my thing. This is what we do. This is the entire purpose of the nonprofit that I'm working on now. And I would like to examine your case. I would like to see what they sent you, but I can't see that if it's not public. Why the repository was removed anyway? I removed the repository voluntarily. That removal should not be interpreted as an admission that all legal or technical allegations made against this project were correct. I removed it because I have no interest in maintaining a prolonged dispute around this particular implementation and no interest in continuing to distribute it. And I understand with this, I'm gonna take some liberty here with translation and say, I released this shit for free, bro. I don't feel like dealing with legal battles or anything that could complicate my life in any way, shape, or form. Point taken. I get it. And I don't blame you, really. I mean, if your users are not giving you tons of money, if you're not getting donations of tens of thousands of dollars a month, why do you want to deal with this shit? Point taken. At the same time, I'm going to push back just a little bit. The reason that people like this get away with this shit is because people like you don't push back. And the entire point of this YouTube channel for the past 14 years has been to convince people that when they stick together, that they can push back. And when they push back, they actually get real change and they get real results and the bully loses. And across so many different verticals, this is what I have seen happen over and over again. Reach out to me. My email is on the YouTube page. I would love to see the case. I'm not going to say anything publicly until you say that I can. I will hold everything you say in complete confidence, but I want to see what you have. Again, the primary purpose of the nonprofit that I have right now is to focus on laws that make doing what you do illegal, legal. But I don't even think you did anything illegal to begin with. Don't let this company win. Because when you let that company win, what you're actually doing is you're sending a message to everybody else, every other developer, that they should not do this type of work. They're going to assume that you stopped because they had an actual leg to stand on legally. And I don't think they do. And I don't want to send that signal to the marketplace or to other developers that they should be afraid when they give people back access to what they bought and paid for. We're literally paying people at Fulu Foundation to do the stuff that you're doing. When a company takes away ownership over something that somebody bought and paid for, when they say that this thermostat is no longer going to work, when they say that this fridge is not going to work the way it did before, when they say that this exercise bike is not going to work the way it did before, we pay people tens of thousands of dollars to make those things work again, to make the point that it is ridiculous that there is any legal ambiguity whatsoever. I love your work. Your users love your work. Make your work available again. And if you're not open to making your work available again, just do me a favor. Let the team at my nonprofit look over the case that you have. I just want to see what you have going on. That's it. Not asking you to commit to anything. Just want to have a conversation. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.